Hi, Amanda. This is a blast of a question. Really good. So let's go through this real quick. To be honest, I don't think I'm going to be saying so much because a lot of it is actually quite strong. So I think what I'm going to do is let me just save this as a PDF document so we can then um, go to it. Right. So let's look at the question real quick. This is 161 Abraham's. And we have a scenario where he was so this was again very much on assets and liabilities. When I say assets, non-current assets, you had non-current assets, you had inventory. So you can see again the repeat going on, and then we have the loan, some bit on again transfer of information, looking for errors, and you did a great job. Um, so I think initially for knowledge they wanted to talk about the components of audit risk. So I'll go through your work, and then we'll go and see what the answers are saying. So, three types, you talk about those, brilliant. And you kind of highlight what it is, likely to occur. So you describe it, and then you again go back to, let me just get my pen here, la, 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 and then you kind of go back to highlighting the fact that this is really due to something else, something other than the failure of internal controls, if you like. So you give examples: increase a risk due to changes in the industry, laws, and legislation. So almost like if you remember when I kind of talked about PESTLE. So external events happening, economic, tech, legal, sort of change in social trends. Might be a purely cash business, overbearing owner of the business. They might be using risky instruments. So absolutely nothing to do with control, just the nature of that business. Very good. So really, but the nature. Then you highlight very correctly here in control that a failure of internal controls really does not allow us or increases the potential for misstatement. I'll take you to the answers, and I think again it's like all going getting us close to the answers, but this is really good. And then fine detection is really the risk that we, with our whatever our audit procedures, will not be able to actually pick up any errors or pick up the errors that we're interested in. So you put some very good material together. Let's look at the answers very quickly as to what they were thinking. Um, so they were arguing that kind of exactly what you're saying. But again, I just want to highlight a couple of things just to add as a login and to log as well to your knowledge when you talk about this thing here. But again, this is just you being perfect. So the question here is this sentence here. Here is the risk or the susceptibility of an assertion about a class of transaction. So this is our income statement, an account balance, which is our statement of financial position, or a disclosure, could be material due to anything else, if you like, before any related control. So this question of someone has asserted that this is a situation, and this you'll see there's a literally repeat of this as we go across. Sorry, there's a repeat of this as we go across all the different. Oops, where am I now? What am I doing? Sorry. What question is this? Sorry. Oh, 163. I've gone too far. Yes, here we are. There's a repeat of this as we go through each of the risks. So even we talk about the detection risk, this is the risk that the procedures, of course, won't will not detect misstatement, and you highlight that and even give examples. And here again, the risk that assertion of a class. So remember that the inherent, I'm sure you know this already, inherent risk times control risk, or inherent risk and control risk is what we refer to as the risk of misstatement, if you like. So that's just extra information. But your work is it's brilliant. You've put everything there. You've got all the examples there, and you talk about, well, even with disclosure, you give the examples when because they ask you why would we have the potential, what would cause this, and of course anything. Just you talk about sample sizes, if I remember, and failure to carry out walkthroughs and that sort of thing. Inadequate planning. So we have that there. Good. And then your and let's go through your all your audit risks and responses are just spot on as well. Um, there really, I don't know if there was very much for me to add. You talked about yes, this need to the research costs and capital expenditure. This question of overstatement, Brill, and excuse me, the fact that you need to kind of examine, inspect, and look through all to make sure you have the documentation supporting development expenditure. You have all that. You talk about that. Um, then you talk about the fact that they have warehouses everywhere. So the key point is we're looking for sufficient and appropriate evidence. So can we reach all these? Oh, sorry, they're in third-party warehouses. So we have it. Um, we have assets here with third parties. So we're almost there's a potential, like you say, for incompleteness or for the risk that the inventory is not complete, if you like, and in fact, even the risk that the inventory does not exist, possibly. And like you said, yes, get the third party warehouses to confirm, inquire of management how they keep track of this inventory. So all very good, very strong answers. We'll look at the answers in a second. Um, Then we move very quickly to the accounting package. And whenever we talk about accounting packages, we're talking about errors, potential errors. And I think you talk about the switchover, incompleteness, the fact that we have errors and we have incomplete data being used, being carrying over, and we have potential misstatement as a result. And we saw this again with the opening balances in the initial question. So again, this is professional skepticism, awareness of errors, and document the transfer, if you like. So very good, good work. Um, Again, here this issue of a bespoke system and manager, because I know you've done so many of these questions, so you probably have to quickly read through. So this is the one where the manager's kind of he put the system together and he's gone. So I've put highlighted here like you have this question of errors and ongoing inaccuracies. Um, so professional skepticism and increased testing around this area, if you like, to check for any inaccuracies, especially at the handover and the transfer over. Of course, revaluation, you're going to literally be recalculating and reperforming those valuations. And like you've said here, if you need to bring in a third party, yes, then we need to. So where is really a risk of overstatement of non-current assets. So good, and this finishes off so very good. I'll find the grading in a second, but I would have given you maybe just taken out 1 mark there just because. But apart from that, it was really good. And then they asked you, I believe, what would you do? They asked you to, they asked you here, um, in terms of inventory in the third party warehouse and use of standard costs here. So again, anything practical, really, and you've kind of answered this question twice already, but then you go in and do it again. So really, we need almost like a circularization of sorts. From the third party to find out because they're keeping it, and also getting in touch with their own. Yes, of course, contact a local independent. Yeah, I would have gone with that to go and observe internal controls and existence, and in fact, maybe potentially getting in touch with their own auditors to see what their the auditors of these businesses, these warehouses, if you can. But I think this is enough. An independent auditor potentially going in and just kind of understanding what the process is, get the documentation about how the standard costing valuation is applied. How does it work? And then comparing, like you do here, to see how far, and almost like a variance analysis, to see how the standard costs vary with the actual cost and highlight any significant variances to management. So let's look at their answers. So you have, again, like I say, you have some very good answers. Yeah. So here we are. So well, let's look at their. I think that they, yes, again, kind of everything you've said. That's the finance director. He thinks it's 2.2. You've asked for a breakdown to ensure that only goods to be capitalized are capitalized. You highlight that. And then this question of IAS 2, we talk about that inventory. Oops, okay, I think I'm just going to have to use this as well to kind of make it easier. 1 second, let me just go here. Right. So what do we have here? The inventory is standard costing, so this is fine under IAS2. If you can chuck that in as well, that's good. Sort of just extra knowledge. You know this again IAS2, but it must be a close approximation to the actual cost. So the argument here is that either this is either over or undervalued or over or understated. That's fine. So the risk, really, the standard cost used should be tested and compared to actual cost, which you talk about, and then discussed with management. WIP, I'm not. I think you skipped that one, but you didn't need to. I mean, you didn't have to give it. You only needed a number. You've talked about them already. And WIP is always an interesting one. This is a nice, safe answer. Get a valuer to come in and observe the process of actually just understand how they've valued WIP. You can give a nice example: direct material, direct labor, what percentage of labor has been done, that sort of thing. Again, the risk is so you can see each one of these questions. I want to highlight this. There is a risk that this is overstated. There is a risk that this is over or understated. So really telling us what risk actually is involved. Third of inventory doesn't belong, like you mentioned. Confirm from both third party. Confirm it where it is. Sufficient appropriate evidence is the issue here. Completeness and existence. I think you talk about accuracy, which is fine. But again, remember that's what our warehouse stock take is really about, verifying completeness and existence. So we have a new accounting system, like we mentioned, errors. There we are, really about errors, um, about transfer to the new system, and the bespoke we highlight as well. You didn't need to even go there, but there was the whole thing with loans again. Again, it's the same idea. Disclosures and allocation. Again, just making sure it's all split appropriately. So, and then of course, there's revaluation, which we've talked about. Value, recalculate, if you like. We've talked about that. This was about the reporting time. I didn't actually pick up on that, but the fact is that I think it says somewhere that they want you to do this quickly. So professional skepticism, um, and either you're going to bring in more people, but the key point is that there's a risk that you won't detection risk. This is potentially going to affect your detection risk. So, if you like, it says that either you do an interim audit or bring in, I would say, bring in more, increase your team. And everything here in C part is kind of talking about what you've said. Send a letter from the third parties, attend the inventory count, or get someone to do so, and really look at the documentation from a third party inventory. But yours about sending a local person would have worked, um, and look at controls. It's just us getting information on controls. And then they go, of course, again, this is almost us recalculating what is the basis, understanding it like you've asked, and the variances between standard and actual, which was 2, and that's enough really, and obtaining a breakdown. So some very good work again. So that was 6 marks, and then that was 10, and that was 4. So so yeah, I think I'd give you 3 out of 4 here, and I think I'll give you 9 out of 10. And these are very strong marks. So great stuff. And on to the next question.